The internal hierarchy of the Commanders has undergone a complete turnaround in just 2 preseason games, and the fate of our offense has taken a completely unexpected turn for this season. The coaching staff saw the initial plan change due to the evolution of athletes that no one expected to see at the top of the competition. A young quarterback selected in the late rounds of the draft began preparing only fighting for a chance in the group. But he showed such impressive performance that it is now practically impossible to leave him out of the main roster. This meteoric rise has put pressure on other areas of the team, where an undrafted running back who started as a big revelation now faces enormous uncertainty about his stay. To complete this major transformation, a defensive line reinforcement dominated the last game and secured his spot in the group, while a recent gamble in the kicking department became the definitive solution for our franchise. Leave your like on the video. It's just one click and it helps me a lot. Robert Henry Jr. quickly learned how the NFL can change without warning. The undrafted running back had been growing during the preseason and seemed increasingly close to a spot among the 53 players. In the debut against the Miami Dolphins, the UTSA alumnus drew attention, showed agility, and created expectations among the fans. For an athlete who was not selected, this start seemed like the beginning of a great story. However, the excitement was short-lived. Against the Detroit Lions, Henry had only 4 rushing opportunities and finished with a negative balance of 3 yards. He also made 1 reception for 5 yards, but committed a fumble on the kickoff return, handing over possession to Detroit. The performance was brief, but the mistakes carried weight. In such a tight competition, a negative play can completely change the coaching staff's evaluation. Henry is not out yet, but the margin has shrunk significantly. The Commanders will have one last preseason game against the Baltimore Ravens, and this game could define the rookie's next step. It won't just be a matter of producing yards. The team will observe decisions, ball security, participation in special teams, and the ability to respond after a poor performance. The most likely destination may be the practice squad. That wouldn't necessarily be the end of the dream. If Henry is preserved and receives few opportunities against Baltimore, perhaps Washington is trying to keep him hidden to prevent another franchise from signing him. If he receives most of the carries until the end of the game, the reading could be different. The number of snaps will also send a message. Jackery Krosky-Merritt and Rachaad White are expected to take on important roles in the backfield. Katron Allen, selected in the 6th round, has not yet produced everything the staff expected, but he offers strength and presence in short situations. Jeremy McNichols remains injured, but he possesses leadership, experience, and value in special teams. Adding these pieces, the space for Henry is getting smaller. The rookie has talent, but needs to accept that development doesn't always happen in a straight line. A good game can open doors, and a weak performance can temporarily close them. The important thing will be to absorb the learning and correct the problems. A spot on the practice squad can provide time for that, allowing Henry to prepare and be ready in case Washington needs reinforcement. Henry's story is directly connected to the additional training on the 15th day. Dan Quinn decided to add a session that was not originally planned. The activity lasted approximately 1 hour and had few plays of 11 against 11, but represented a valuable opportunity for players still vying for a spot. With cuts approaching, each rep now can alter a decision. Quinn explained that the extra session was not an impulsive reaction to the game against Detroit. The coach was not pleased with some aspects of the team's identity, but the main goal was to make better use of the remaining time. Washington is moving players between positions and needs to observe who can respond to different roles. For the reserves, practices have ceased to be just a development phase. Now, every job serves to change the committee's opinion. Henry and Allen received more opportunities because Krosky-Merritt and White were not available at full capacity. The 2 young players took advantage of the extra snaps and had positive performances. This situation shows how an absence can hurt a veteran, but also create a decisive moment for a player who is waiting for their opportunity. The session with Baltimore will be even more important. Quinn considers Wednesday's joint practice essential and intends to focus more attention on the starters and the athletes who may not play in the last game. For Jayden Daniels, this will likely be the environment closest to a dress rehearsal before the regular season. The committee will be able to evaluate rhythm, communication, and decisions without having to leave him on the field until the end. Daniels participated little in the preseason, and the team wants to choose the right moment to increase his workload. A joint practice against the Ravens offers real competition, but allows for greater control than a full game. The opposing defense will be strong, and the repetitions may show if the new offense is ready to execute against players prepared to start the season. Injuries continue to influence all these plans. Nick Allegretti is still not ready, and Matt Golbin will return to exclusively playing center after having practiced a bit as guard. Julian Good-Jones is also still involved in the competition. The position remains one of the team's biggest uncertainties, especially since Washington hoped to stabilize it with Allegretti from the start. Rachaad White has returned to practice in a limited capacity, while Krosky-Merritt worked separately. This opened new opportunities for Allen and Henry. Tim Settle has returned to activities, bringing good news for the defensive line. Other players, however, were prepared for the following week instead of participating in the practice with Baltimore. The committee needs to balance evaluation, rest, and prevention. With few chances remaining, the joint practice and the last game will carry more weight than Monday's light session. Henry needs to regain confidence. Allen needs to confirm his usefulness. Allegretti needs to demonstrate availability. Daniels needs to receive protection. Each question feeds the next, and all will be observed before the cut to 53 players. Some athletes, however, have already done enough to earn a spot. Athan Kaliakmanis is the clearest example. The quarterback selected in the 7th round started the preparation vying for a spot with Sam Hartman. After Marcus Mariota's injury, he received more opportunities and turned the situation into a strong candidacy to remain on the main roster. Against Detroit, Kaliakmanis completed 11 of 14 passes for 162 yards and did not commit turnovers. The passer rating reached 114.9. More importantly, the throws produced Washington's longest offensive plays, a 55-yard pass to Nick Nash, another 30-yard pass to Jaden Bradley, and a 21-yard pass to Antonio Williams. The accuracy against man coverage stood out. Quinn also acknowledged Hartman's importance, but the rookie's performance shifted the weight of the competition. Hartman will have one last opportunity to change the evaluation, but Kaliakmanis already seems to have shown enough. His control, his reading, and his ability to attack deep areas have made it difficult to justify a cut. Joshua Josephs also significantly strengthened his position. The edge selected in the 5th round, coming from Tennessee, started as a developmental gamble. As training progressed and equipment was used, he began to better showcase his wingspan and flexibility. Quinn had already highlighted the young man's ability to use long arms to shed offensive tackles. Against Detroit, Josephs recovered a fumble and scored his first touchdown in the NFL. The play came after Amik Robertson forced quarterback Josh Dobbs' mistake. Josephs was in the right place, picked up the ball, and completed the play. Now, the question has shifted from whether the edge will make the roster to how many rotation snaps Washington will be able to offer. Katron Allen also positioned himself very favorably. In his debut against Miami, the running back rushed 23 times for 85 yards and scored a touchdown without losing yardage on any attempt. Against Detroit, he received another 10 carries, which shows the coaching staff's confidence. The young man still needs to improve his explosiveness, but his reliability and strength provide a specific role. Allen also showed willingness to contribute on special teams. Quinn emphasized that there was no hesitation from the rookies when given different responsibilities. This attitude weighs heavily in the final cuts. A running back who runs well, protects, participates in returns, and accepts varied roles offers more value than someone limited to a single situation. Morris Hurst II was another big surprise. The defensive tackle arrived after Johnny Newton's injury and received an immediate opportunity against Detroit. The veteran finished with 5 combined tackles, 2 sacks for a total loss of 17 yards, 2 tackles for a loss of yards, and 2 quarterback hits. This is a very strong performance for his first game with Washington. Hurst does not need to replace Newton alone. The franchise's idea is to use a rotation with Payne, Kinlaw, Omenihu, Tuttle, Barber, and other players. Still, Hurst's ability to pressure from the interior created a very clear role. In a defense that needs to generate pressure without relying on just one athlete, this type of production greatly increases the veteran's value. Drew Stevens virtually ended the competition for kicker. The undrafted player needed to surpass Jake Moody, but managed to maintain greater consistency. Against Detroit, he made field goals of 27 and 32 yards, in addition to the extra point. Stevens scored 7 of Washington's 13 points and showed that he can take on a role that has been unstable for several seasons. Tyler Owens completes the group of players who strengthened their candidacy. The safety combines athleticism, versatility, and participation in special teams. Will Harris has more experience, but Owens offers more possibilities for the last spot at the position. The young man seems to fit better in Durante Jones' system and still has room to grow. These 6 players came into the summer with different uncertainties. Kaliakmanis needed to prove he could lead the offense. Josephs was just a project. Allen was vying for space in a crowded group. Hurst arrived out of necessity. Stevens was a gamble without a draft pick. Owens needed to surpass a veteran. After 2 games, they all present strong arguments to continue. Henry's situation is the perfect contrast. The running back started strong, but lost momentum after a negative performance. This does not erase his talent, but illustrates how every detail matters. A short run, a poorly managed return, or a fumble can weigh more than a previous good performance. This is the reality that the rookie will have to face against Baltimore. The last week will be decisive for the formation of the roster. Daniels will have an important training session. Allegretti needs to advance. Allen and Henry will divide attention, and the defensive candidates will try to confirm what they have already shown. Washington is not just looking for the most talented players, but for those who can contribute in various situations and maintain focus under pressure. As a fan, it is impossible not to get excited about the rise of Kaliakmanis, Josephs, Hurst, Stevens, and Owens. Allen seems more and more confident, while Henry needs to react quickly to not lose an opportunity that seemed guaranteed. With the final cuts approaching, the question is inevitable. Will Robert Henry Jr. be able to turn the tough lesson against Detroit into a strong response against Baltimore, or will the preseason mistake have already opened a definitive space for the competitors?